It is a story about family, about identity, and about love. Blackwater by David A. Robertson is an emotional memoir about a son growing up away from his Indigenous culture and the journey back to his father's trapline near Norway House, Manitoba. The book explores reconciliation, cultural reclamation, Indigenous representation, and mental health awareness. We are excited to welcome David A. Robertson to the show this morning. Good to chat with you.
Thanks for having me.
So you grew up in a town full of white people, and as a young boy, you had no knowledge or understanding of what it meant to be Cree, something you thought was done intentionally by your parents. You later learned that wasn't the case. How did your father explain the decisions he and your mom made about how you were raised?
Well, for my father, it was more I really only found this out last year when I was researching for this book. I asked him, why did you raise me to be non-Indigenous when I was a kid? And I really wanted to know. And he said, I didn't raise you to be non-Indigenous. I wanted you to find your own way. I wanted to raise you to be a good man. And one of the questions he asked me was, how am I going to raise you to be Cree? You are Cree. And so his goal was to raise us to be good human beings and to respect other people as human beings. And I think he did a pretty good job of that.
The relationship between you and your father is a special one. It's a complicated one as well. You write about how you became really close with him after he and your mom got back together. When you approached him about writing this book, what did he say? What was his reaction?
He's listened to me speak a lot about him over the years. He's been to a lot of my talks. He was hesitant only because he's a very humble man. He was a very humble man. And he never liked to talk about himself. He never liked to share his accomplishments. But he knew that it was an important journey for me to talk about in this work, in this form. And so he supported it. And over the last year or 2 years, we spent a lot of time together. And he was very gracious in answering really all the questions I had for him. And in the process, I learned so much more about myself and my identity. And it's the time I'll always be grateful for.
It's one of the things I think about, too, with my parents is to sit them down and actually conduct an interview with them, just to say, like, all the things that I wanted to ask you over the course of my life. And you were able to do that with your dad. What was that process like for you both?
It was healing. It was something that my dad, I think in the end, he was hesitant, but as we went on, he started to appreciate it and he started to remember. He started to remember things about his childhood and his life that he had forgotten. And so I know that it was a healing experience for both of us. And because of my dad's passing in December, it's really a time that I'll never get back and I'll always appreciate because of the time that we spent together, more than almost what I learned, but it's the teachings that I'll carry with me. And I know that that's something that now that I don't have him with me physically, I'll have him with me in that way. And that's something I'll always feel incredibly grateful for this book.
Isn't it fascinating? I know you have a lot of children. You have 5 children. When you have children, your perspective, as we all know, changes on life. So to be able to take that emotional experience and transfer that to having those conversations with your dad must have been a fascinating experience. And then when you look at your own children, how do you play it out in terms of your approach to teaching them about their culture?
Yeah, I mean, there's things that I think that my parents and my dad did that I don't agree with when I was a kid, as much as it was all done with love. Mm-hmm. Some things I do agree with. I want my kids to grow up to be good humans, good people, to respect everyone, no matter what background they're from. But I also want to give them probably more guidance into understanding their own backgrounds. My wife's Métis. I want them to understand more about the Métis Cree culture. And so we're exposing them to those things. At the same time, we're giving them the opportunity and the tools to make the discovery of who they define themselves as. Because the reality is because I'm Cree, what being Cree means to me is different than what it means to anybody else. And my dad gave me the tools to be able to do that. And I found that those are things that I'll pass down to my own children.
What was this experience like for you, writing this memoir? Was there a bit of therapy in that for you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that the hardest part of doing this memoir was after my dad passed away. And I feel like after that time, I took about a month away from it after my dad died. And after that time, it was definitely a healing experience to be able to finish the book, to be able to revise it and edit it, and just to revisit him. And I had the opportunity because of that to read all the teachings he gave me over again, and about his life and about our relationship. And it was a bittersweet time, but it was also a very healing time. It was a way for me to express all of the pain and loss that I experienced and all the love.
How wonderful to have that documented. My condolences on the death of your father. An emotional read, a wonderful read. David, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much. Echo Zanny.
We want to remind our viewers Blackwater is out right now.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.